All right, welcome back to the podcast. All right, you've heard from Tallahassee, you've heard from Coral Gables. Now we are heading to West Central Florida, University of South Florida, USF Bulls, Alex Golesh, year three, coming off of a wild bowl game win in Hawaii and back in December. One of the more entertaining bowl games of the year. Coach Golesh again 7-6 for the Bulls. They finished 4-4 in the American last year and head into 2025. A resurgence. Their quarterback, Byrum Brown, seems to be healthy. He missed the majority of last year with a leg injury. No better person to talk all things USF Bulls than part of the radio broadcast team for both basketball and football. Good friend, legendary writer here in the Tampa Bay area, Joey Johnston, who covers USF and works for the athletic department and part of the broadcasting. Welcome back, Joey.
Thanks, Jason. Glad to be back. Glad to talk some football. I think we're all ready for it.
We are. Before we get to the on the field stuff, give the we had a couple things in the last several months. The AD Michael Kelly left to go to the Naval Academy. Any update on the athletic director search?
It's underway. I don't have any good concrete updates for you. People might have seen a few weeks ago, Will Weatherford, chairman of the board of trustees, made a statement essentially that said the new AD will actually be called the CEO. And if you read between the lines, it certainly looks like they're after somebody with a very strong business background, maybe even from a non-traditional setting, maybe from a business, that type of thing.
Corporate
Obviously,
America.
with modern college football, raising revenue is job one, two, three, four, and five. So you have to do that first and foremost. So it'll be interesting to see who they come up with. It may be somebody that's not on anybody's list. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it's somebody that comes out of left field that we're not that familiar with initially. So we'll have to wait and see. But it looks like they're, in addition to all the other things USF and other schools are doing to adjust to the modern college landscape. Here's another example of maybe the traditional AD will be tweaked just a little bit to have more of a business background.
All right. Also, give a comment about the USF. The Bulls hired a new basketball coach in the offseason. Obviously, the tragic circumstances around Coach Raw passing away. Give us a quick thought on Brian Hodgson and what's kind of his background and his kind of philosophy as we go into hoop season coming up here in a couple months.
Yeah, well, Brian Hodgson has got an interesting resume. He was an assistant at Alabama with Nate Oates, very successful there on really high scoring up and down teams for the Crimson Tide. And then he went on to be the head coach at Arkansas State and led them to their best season ever. They beat Memphis handily last season. They played a very crowd pleasing style of play, up and down, a lot of threes, a lot of pressure defense. So he's going to bring that to USF. And again, similarly to what we're going to see almost in every sport. We have a pretty much a new look roster, a revamped roster. CJ Brown, the high flying freshman from last year, did stick with the Bulls. He's a face that people will know. But other than that, it's going to be a lot of people that are new to this program. So how it all comes together remains to be seen. They're playing an extremely ambitious schedule. One of the games is at Alabama. He's going to go up against his old head coach, his old boss. They're playing George Washington. They're going to a tournament in the Bahamas, and a very difficult, conference season ahead as well. So they will not be able to tiptoe into this season. But we'll see how it goes. It certainly looks like the style of play is going to be one that fans will enjoy, and he has brought in a great recruiting class. So by all accounts, this is a guy that was going to be somebody's next head coach. He happens to be USF's next head coach, and he is embracing the challenge and believes that USF can be an annual tournament team, which is music to everyone's ears if that's what's going to occur.
All right, couple more things off the field. Give us any stadium updates. Obviously, the stadium stuff all been approved a while back, but any construction updates?
Well, it looks like things are they've cleared the ground, and now things are going vertical. You see things coming out of the ground now, which is small progress. But every time we're out there at practice or at interviews, you have the sound of trucks in the background constantly, and so there's certainly an indication that it's not just a theory anymore; it's a reality.
That's right.
And I think in the coming months, we're going to really start to see, some things take shape literally, and that's when everybody will get really excited. But if you're out on the practice field and you look beyond that fence, you see activity. So this thing is going to happen,
That's
and
it.
God willing, and everything stays on schedule. 2027, the Bulls will run out of the tunnel on campus for the first time ever in football.
That's right. All right, last thing. USF's got a new radio home, moving radio ventures, stations here in the Tampa area. Give an update for the people that are in the Central Florida area, where USF's going to be radio wise.
Well, USF football and basketball will now be heard on Q105, which for somebody of my era has a magic sound to it. Q105
Me too,
back in the
baby.
'80s was one of the great stations, and I think in our country in terms of a brand, familiar rock and roll brand that everybody in town knew about.
Yep.
So I think it's certainly on the short list of radio stations that people in Tampa can name, and it still has that magic brand of Q105. It has a very clear signal, so it's a great new home for our radio broadcast. We're looking forward to getting back out there, have the team intact. I'll be working the sidelines. Jim Lauk and Sam Barrington will
Yep.
be in the booth. So we're looking forward to getting back at it. We always have a great time. It's a great group, and we really look forward to bringing the games to all of our listeners.
All right, let's get to on the field. So again, you mentioned the new radio station. Obviously, you mentioned let's go to the first three. Let's go right to the schedule. Let's start with the schedule. One of the most, probably not, if not the most difficult schedule in America, the first 3 weeks of the year. Home to Boise, at Florida, at Miami. Give me a sense of the excitement level of the team knowing that's in front of them, and then obviously the challenges of that being in front of them.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we did do some research, and it absolutely is the toughest schedule in America. Nobody else plays three ranked non-conference teams. Nobody. So that
Yep.
is a fact. It is the toughest non-conference schedule in America. Boise State is really one of the more interesting openers the Bulls have ever had. Boise coming down here, and the Bulls will go back up to Boise on the blue turf in a few years to
Yep.
complete the home and home. But Boise State was a college football playoff team last year.
Hmm.
They lost Ashton Genty, who was the Heisman runner-up. Everybody knows him, the running back, to the NFL. But make no mistake, this is a very veteran team with a lot of returning starters, a good quarterback, a good offensive line, good tight ends. They're going to still have an incredible challenge. They're going to bring to USF even with Genty gone.
Right.
And let's face it, Boise State for I think 2 decades has been consistent winner, almost double digits every single year. So this is not some fluky thing that just happens. This is a power program all the way and has been for years. So it's a great challenge right off the jump. I think the question will be, obviously in the opening game, nobody's really sure how it's going to go on either side. We've got Boise coming down here. We expect it to be very hot.
Thursday
It's
night. It's a Thursday nighter.
Thursday nighter. It begins at the unusual time of 5:30. We're hoping the weather will hold.
Hmm.
We've had our
Right.
share of delays in USF openers many times over the years, but if it's a August 28th typical Tampa late afternoon, early evening, it's going to be very warm. So we'll see how our friends from the Northwest react to that. But the Bulls hope to make that into their home field advantage. They're going to wear all black, the back in black theme. So the players are excited about that. And, right off the bat, what a great challenge. After that game, of course, as you mentioned, at Florida, at Miami, those games really need no introduction. Anytime USF plays a major team from the state of Florida,
Right.
it's automatic hype. Uh, USF went to Florida in 2022, almost won the game, should have won the
Should have
game,
won
but
the game. No,
it
no
went
doubt.
awry at the end. Uh, had Miami here last year, played a very competitive first half. It was not competitive in the second half,
Right.
as Cam Ward just put up monster numbers. So, a chance to go down to Miami, where, believe it or not, the Bulls have won back in 2010. It's been some time, but the Bulls have a win at Miami. So, it can be done. This is a massive, massive challenge to the start of the season. Three uh, very, very difficult opponents. Um, but regardless of what happens in these games, uh, it doesn't affect their ability to win the conference championship, which
Yep.
I maintain is the number one goal for this program moving forward. Of course, to get a splash victory or two in these first three games would be incredible and give the Bulls a lot of attention, maybe even a national ranking. But got to get to business in October and November and win some conference games. That's really the biggest priority for this program right now.
And you avoid Tulane, you avoid Army, so that's a little bit of from a scheduling perspective. You get a break there. You do have to go to a couple road games at Memphis, at Navy, at North Texas, but it's a situation where if you can get to, like you said, healthy through the month of September, you got a chance to do some damage in this conference that's going to be wide open.
Yeah, it's not an easy schedule, but it's a favorable schedule, as you said. So if the Bulls can navigate it and get into particularly that Navy game could really loom large at
Yep.
Navy in terms of deciding it. At Memphis, of course, is another challenge. USF's had some issues there up at Memphis, but the other part of the schedule is you don't leave the state of Florida until I believe it's October 10th.
Right.
You have the games at Florida and Miami, the home games, and then at North Texas is the first time that they will actually have to leave the Sunshine State. So it certainly seems to line up well schedule-wise, but the Bulls just have to do it now and win these games.
All right, let's get down the field. Let's Coach Golesh, year three. Have you noticed any philosophical changes, maybe kind of in how he's handled going from year one to year two now to year three? He's won 14 games in 2 years, which is excellent. But if you look deeper into the numbers, only one of those games have kind of been against a winning team with a winning record. So great progress from where they were 3 years ago, but now it's time to take that next step. And what, not that you have to win a conference title, but you definitely want to be in the mix come November. Have you noticed any philosophical or just coaching kind of things that maybe he's matured as a head coach going into year three?
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a big change in the way they approach it. They're still going to go really fast and put a lot of pressure on the defense with a fast moving offense. The coaching wise, they brought in Cody Burns, who is now the assistant head coach, and he'll work with the receivers and to some degree with quarterbacks. If you recognize the name, he played at Auburn.
Yes.
He was a quarterback at Auburn, and then when they discovered Cam Newton, he switched positions and became a receiver. And
Yep.
actually, when Auburn won the national title, beating Oregon, he scored a touchdown in that game. And if you look at their trip to the White House, you will see Cody Burns handing the Auburn jersey to President Barack Obama.
There you go.
So he's had some interesting sidelights. He's been a college coach. He coached in the NFL with the Saints for a bit, and
Yep.
now he's back in college. So that's really the only significant coaching change. Their coordinators are still the same: Joel Gordon on offense, Todd Orlando on
Hmm.
defense. I believe they philosophies all around will remain the way they align. I think the biggest difference is on both sides of the ball. There's a ton of talent, a ton more talent, particularly on the lines. That's the biggest difference that I see. There's a lot more depth, offensive line and defensive line, which is sorely needed, has been sorely needed, and they've tried to address that. And I also think they've got a ton of good skill players and a ton of good secondary. So, and also a very veteran team with a lot of seniors. So again, with that and what looks to be a favorable conference schedule, you certainly could make the argument that the time is now.
Let's talk about Byrum Brown a little bit. Obviously, Byrum missed a lot of last year with a leg injury. Do you anticipate potentially? Obviously, he is a really good player when he's healthy, can run and throw. Do you get the sense that maybe a little bit less quarterback runs this year to keep him healthy? You got a better line. You got more pieces to let him not have to be the one man band. How do you anticipate kind of some of the offensive play calling going to maybe take the load off of him a little bit.
Yeah, well, he will. He will run. They're not going to take the run away. The difference, and I think he was getting better at this, is knowing when to run and when to not run. His first few games in 2023, at the first sign of trouble, he took off. He was not good at throwing the ball away or surrendering a down. He
Right.
would make some maybe poor judgments, but he did get better at that, and I think he's turned the corner in that way. But certainly his running ability gives a great dimension. He is the kind of guy that can run for 100 yards and pass for 300 if he's playing his A game. He's a big guy. He's gotten even bigger. He's somewhere in the 230-pound range now, I
Right.
believe. He certainly looks like a pro body. I
Yep.
think he'll have a chance to play in the league ultimately. He did not get off to a good start last year before the injury. I think he would tell you that he wasn't playing particularly well. People remember perhaps the Alabama game. He had a couple of deep shots that he missed on.
Right.
So and then he gets hurt. So sour taste all around in terms of last year. And I know he's extra determined to get out there and get back to playing the way he was at the end of 2023.
And to your point of depth, it sounds like they have more confidence now in the backup quarterback position. In the event something were to happen to Byron, another kid from Tennessee, Gaston Moore's been getting been good reviews out of practice. Give me a thought or two. If the event Byron has to miss a game for some reason, the confidence in the backup.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Gaston Moore from what I've seen. Again, just in practice for what that's worth, but he certainly knows where to go with the ball. Looks the part. Everybody you talk to has great things to say about him. He's fit right in. He's working really well with Byrum. He's been a career backup. He actually started at UCF or began at UCF his freshman year, and then transferred to Tennessee and was the most popular guy on the team, the backup quarterback, right? And he did get into some games last year at Tennessee when Nico went down and produced. He's
Right.
very popular at Tennessee. The Tennessee fans still love him, and they're rooting for him to get a good shot here. But I guess the upshot here is, a couple of months ago, Bryce Archie was drafted by the Cincinnati Reds, and he signed, and he was the starting quarterback for 8 games last year. So all those reps, all that experience goes out the door, and that puts you in a precarious situation because after that, you've got freshmen and guys who haven't really
Yep.
played. Now you wind up with Gaston Moore. So I think I even asked Alex Golesh this in a press conference, and I reading between the lines. I think whatever security and confidence that he had with Bryce Archie back there, I think he has it similar with Gaston Moore. So I believe Gaston Moore can come in and play if needed, and if not, he's certainly a valuable guy in practice, a valuable backup, and again, most popular guy on the team is always the backup quarterback, right? So Gaston Moore, we haven't actually seen him in a game, but I think people at least are feeling a little better that if anything was to happen to Byrum, that they do have somebody capable to come in.
Give me a name or two on offense, whether the newcomers or returning guys that you think are going to make some major impact on the offensive side.
Yeah, I really like Sam Franklin, running back, transfer from Oklahoma. Only spent 1 year with the Sooners. He's probably better known during his time at Tennessee Martin at the FCS level, where he was a finalist for the Walter Payton Award. He was a dynamic running back and a kickoff returner, playmaker. I've seen him really flash in practice. Guy that can get to the second and third level pretty quick. Pretty stocky guy that can break it, almost like a Doug Martin kind of runner, if you remember him
Mm-hmm.
from the Bucks. Very very thick body, but also with some speed. And I figure he's going to be getting a lot of carries, as is Cartavius Norton, who's been banged up, but apparently he's healthy now. The transfer from Charlotte, he's more of a conventional bigger back, a guy that can run through the tackles. So, I think between those two guys, and then they have some other younger people that could flash a little bit too. But with Norton and Franklin, I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling uh, much better about the backfield than I was in the spring. I think they've got adequate depth and a couple of guys that I think could be, really, really capable players. I would mention too, offensively, this isn't a secret anymore. Keyshawn Singleton has the look of a guy that could be a star. He's certainly going to be their first option on the passing game, but also two other guys to keep an eye on transfers. Chaz Nimrod, a transfer from Tennessee. He's going to be a big part of their offense. Again, a really capable receiver who can make big plays. And the other guy might not see much of him early, but I think by midseason he's going to hit his stride. Mudia Rubin, transfer from Stanford, a big slot receiver who is coming along, but he's going to need a little bit more time, I think, to get adjusted. But a guy that played a lot at Stanford, and I think he's going to play a lot for the Bulls. And I'll sneak one in the offensive line. They've got tons of veteran presence there, but a guy to maybe look at there. Another new player from Jesuit High School, another Stanford transfer, Connor McLaughlin, who started 14 games at Stanford, now has returned to Tampa for his final freshman year. He's a big, I think he goes about 6'6", 6'7", 300-plus pounds. Yep. Probably will play at right tackle. Looks like another great addition for the offensive line.
All right, listen to Joey Johnston, part of the USF radio broadcast. We're previewing the 2025 USF Bulls, 7-6 in 2024. A daunting schedule as we get into 2025, the first 3 weeks of the year. Home to Boise, at Florida, at Miami. Let's go to the defense a little bit here. Obviously, allowed right at 30 points a game last year. You know, you and I remember that was a number that was outrageous, but now that's not as, I mean, it's not a great number, but it's not as bad as it once was because of so much of the offense and so much of the offensive wizardry that's going on in college football with the number of plays being run. Bottom half of the bottom quarter in total defense. What's the one position group for you that if they could be better on defense, if this position group can be better, this Bulls defense will elevate significantly?
Yeah, it's the eternal search for a great defensive line. I mean, been looking for it for a long time. I mean, the Bulls have a great history there with the likes of George Selvey and Jason Pierre-Paul and Terrell McClain. I mean, they have really great pedigree through this program, but not too much the last few seasons. They have tried like heck to add depth to this position. If nothing else, they've got a great rotation of bodies. Whether or not there's a true star or a pass rushing star remains to be seen, but they do have, I think, better depth than they've had in at least 5 years. A couple guys to look at on the D line: Josh Seliskar, who transferred from Texas A&M, better known as a player at UCF, where he played a lot, was a team captain, and people might have seen in the news of late. Josh was wearing number 8. He's now wearing number 63. Which is the number of the late Leroy Selman, who the former Buck and the USF program patriarch. USF, in a really cool move, I think, is bringing back 63 and going to give it to a player each year who they feel can honor Leroy Selman's spirit and personality. It's got to be a special player, not only on the field, but off the field. And they feel Josh Seliskar is that guy. He's extremely mature. He's married with a young daughter. When you talk to the teammates, they say this guy just has a nonstop motor in practice, is the first to do every drill, has a great attitude. So Josh Seliskar, I think, is going to bring a lot to the Bulls. And another transfer you might want to look at is Devin Lee. He comes from Vanderbilt, and another guy that has SEC experience that they're counting on to really give a good push on that line. TFLs and sacks, they want to increase those. They are steadily increased. They're not quite where they need to be. They weren't consistent. They had some great games where they put tons of pressure. The Florida Atlantic game comes to mind where they just made that quarterback's life miserable. But then there were other games where they didn't do nearly that. What they've got to do is show that consistent pressure, and that could come from the D-line or the linebackers. But, we'll see if there's somebody that can emerge with that. But I do think, they're going to have, 7, 8 players along that D-line that are going to be able to play.
And as you know, you're not going to be able to hold teams nowadays to 14, 17 points. Every team's pretty much going to give up low to mid 20s at least. It's the situational ability to make them kick field goals more often, more prevalent. Get that red zone turnover now and again. Get that big tackle for loss or a sack that gets them out of field goal range. Just opportunistic defense. Going back to Todd Orlando, is he more of a blitz? Give the audience a little perspective. Is he more of a blitzing guy, a zone defense guy? What does he like to do defensively?
Yeah, he likes to bring the blitz. He likes to do some exotic stuff and bring the pressure. Whether it's personnel or situations, or they've been burned sometimes on that. But you like to think that he's got more capable personnel on hand to do some of the things that he likes to do. I would say the position that he specializes in, linebacker. They are in good hands there with two veterans, Matt Karras, Jalen Schuler, both of whom have led the team in tackles on two different seasons. So, and these guys are like Batman and Robin on the defense. They're fire and ice, the sidekicks, and they're going to be the leaders for sure. So, and don't be surprised if one of those guys leads the team in sacks. They like to bring those linebackers, and both of those guys are capable of getting after the quarterback. And also, we might see the occasional corner safety blitz too to get after the quarterback. So, it's all about pressure and disruption. That's what he likes to do, and they've done it at times. They just need to do it more consistently. And you'd like to think that they have maybe some more weapons to do it with this year.
All right, last thing I want to hit on is those special teams. Obviously, you have another Grammatica in the fold at USF. He had some very good moments last year. He had a long field goal in the Miami game, a couple 50-yard field goals. Give me a sense of how they anticipate using him more as a weapon this year.
Yeah, he was great from long range. I think they wanted to see more consistency from him. That's why John Cannon sort of split time with Nico Grammatica last year, but now John Cannon has moved on, so it's essentially Nico's job to lose. I think if he is consistent, he's going to be the primary field goal guy in all points of the field, and also perhaps handle all the kickoffs as well. I mean, he's certainly got the pedigree from his family. He had a game, the game against Miami.
Yep.
He had a 58-yarder and a 51-yarder in the same game, and he another 50-yarder plus in another game, 3 50-yarders as a freshman. So that's the start of what could be a really, really remarkable career. So I don't anticipate many problems at all in that place kicking. I have a lot of trust in Nico Grammatica, and I know Alex Golesh does as well. The punting will be different in a way. Andrew Stokes has left. He had a great career. The last punt of his USF career was 72 yards to tie a program record that really was a big moment in that Hawaii Bowl that flipped the field and allowed USF to get the tying field goal. So we'll miss Andrew Stokes, the Aussie. But wouldn't you know it, we got two more Aussies competing for the job. So for the 8th straight year, USF will have an Australian punter. We don't know who it's going to be yet, Chase Leon or Luke Goder, but it will be one of those guys. So clearly USF has become one of those programs that, likes that Australian feeder system for punting.
Sunshine and close to the beach, my man.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Is a good
returning a lot of candidates on kickoffs and punts. Not quite sure who's going to handle it. Yeah. Sam Franklin could be back there. He's got some experience. Tavin Ward could be the punt returner. We'll just have to see how that goes. Again, not something that anybody's going to focus on, but the Bulls do have one of the best long snappers in the country in Garrett Cates. And the best thing you can say about Garrett Cates is if you don't hear his name at all this year.
Ding, ding.
And that's how you know you've got a good long snapper, if you don't know who he is.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, Joey. Again, a lot of promise over at USF. Again, a lot of new stuff going on. You got I loved when I read the story about the Selman about giving the number 63. I think that's
awesome.
That's a great program thing for the future and ongoing. I think that's a great tribute. I think that'll be something kind of like the 12th man at Texas A&M. I mean, just those kind of things. And for those who didn't know, Leroy Selman, he was a Hall of Fame player on the field, but even more of a Hall of Famer off the field with all the stuff that he did. And obviously his influence on USF athletics is why in many respects this program is even here because of the efforts of Leroy Selman and others. So one more thing. Coach Levitt got put into the Hall of Fame. Give me a word or two about Coach Levitt.
Well, Coach Levitt obviously got this program off the ground and coached it to the status where it reached the number two ranking in the country in 2007 and was a perennial bowl team. He certainly did some things that maybe few others, maybe none other could do in terms of starting this thing from scratch. I mean, it's a bit of a polarizing choice. You're going to have detractors. You're going to have people
Sure.
behind him, and I understand that. But I also would say that I don't think you can have a USF Athletics Hall of Fame without Jim Levitt
Or a
uh,
stadium coming.
or Stadium. Yeah, you have to recognize what he did. Um, I feel similarly. I vote for the Baseball Hall of Fame, and I believe, in the case of Pete Rose, or in the case of maybe some others, I think you put them in with their accomplishments, and if you need to explain other things, then you explain them. I don't want to be the moral judge and jury of anything, but certainly, what Jim Levitt did on the field, I think deserves recognition, and he will get that recognition. And I think a large part of the USF fan base will be very pleased by that.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, Joe, appreciate it. Enjoy the new radio broadcast Q105. Unfortunately, we won't get to hear the sports updates from Dick Crippen,
Oh
the
boy,
famous.
yeah, remember those?
I would listen to him driving to school at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
Q105 Sports with Dick
yeah,
Crippen. So,
yeah. So no one. I don't know if you would even remember this, but in the '80s, Q105 had a DJ named Scott Shannon,
yep,
who was one of the coolest DJs ever, and he ended up being like the number one DJ in New York.
I
This
know the name.
Q105 was his launching pad to the Big Apple. So hey, if you were a kid in the '80s,
That's
you
it,
listen to
man.
Q105. Simple as that. So glad we're part of a brand like that.
No doubt. No, enjoy the sidelines, Joey. We'll catch up as we get closer to basketball season, and we will definitely check in as we get through the college football season. USF Bulls 2025 preview heading into year three. Coach Alex Golesh. Check it out. Tickets. Where can we find? Are you guys on the varsity? What online is it? Does USF? What is the online version if people want to listen online?
You could go to gousfbulls.com, and there will be a link there. There will probably be a link on the Q105 site as well, but gousfbulls.com is kind of your one-stop shop place to go. Should have it for a struggling technology person such as myself. I always like the link that says "click here to listen." That spells it out very. I can understand that. So so just look for that "click here to listen" link, and you should be able to get right into it.
And you'll see Joey will have some written documentation throughout the year as well, covering the Bulls, and obviously he'll be part of the broadcast team, giving you good reports from the sideline game day as well. So Joey Johnston, appreciate the time. Have a great season, and we'll check in real soon. Okay.
Thanks, Jason.